And this is episode 33 of the Lifestyle Entrepreneur Podcast. And my next guest is Vinca Heart, where she's going to talk about how to crack your money code so you can get to the next level in your business. Welcome to the Lifestyle Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Kris Gilbertson, and I'm an author, speaker, and a coach to teaching you how to launch your own successful podcast. And the reason I designed this show is to bring you the top lifestyle entrepreneur experts from all over the world for them to share their key strategies that they've used to launch their own businesses and allow them to live life on their own terms. So tune in every Friday for new episodes and come on over and join the Lifestyle Entrepreneur community at www.lifestyleacademy.com. There you're going to receive VIP training from specific guests from the podcast, along with being able to watch all of the interviews. And I'll also be making it really easy for you to implement these strategies that you're hearing by sending you what I like to call the Lifestyle Cliff Notes on the best of the best lessons learned on the podcast. So let's get started. All right, so before we get started with the show, I just want to thank everyone who is subscribing and leaving awesome reviews in iTunes. I'm so excited that people are enjoying these interviews, and I'm excited to announce First Fridays. So what I'm going to be doing the first Friday of every month, we're going to have a raffle for those of you that have subscribed to the podcast and then also left a review, and it'll be a raffle for $25 gift cards from iTunes, Amazon, eBay, all over the place. So all you simply need to do is just subscribe to the podcast in iTunes and then leave us a review, and your name will go in a hat, and we'll announce that the first Friday of every month. So this week's First Friday winner goes out to our listener in Australia by abs_J. So abs, tweet me over at Kris Gilbertson on Twitter. So it's at KrisGilbertson with the best email to reach you at to send you your gift card for being a loyal listener. And thank you for leaving a stellar review. They say informative and inspiring. Thank you, Kris. I love listening to your podcast. Your show is awesome with relative and up-to-date information. The people who you interview are knowledgeable, creative, inspiring, and up-to-date. Would love to learn more about connection and building relationships. Cheers, abs. Love tuning in. Big smiley face. Well, abs, again, love that you're listening. And for everyone that's listening, follow me over on Twitter at Kris Gilbertson. I'm finding a lot of listeners love to connect over there, and I'm loving Twitter a ton myself. So tweet me, let me know what you like about the show, leave comments there as well, and let me know who you want to have me bring on the show. What content are you looking for that you need help in your business? Whatever area that is, I'll look to bring on experts to help you with that for your business, mindset, health, relationships, whatever the case may be. And make sure to leave a review in iTunes as well to be entered in for First Friday. So how that works is all you have to do is subscribe to the show in iTunes and then leave a review, and then we'll put your name in a hat until you win. And my team checks all the countries in iTunes, so you're covered there. So let's get at today's interview with Vinca Heart on how to crack your money code. Well, welcome back, everyone. I'm so excited for my guest today. She is absolutely amazing and going to cover what I truly believe is one of the biggest struggles that most entrepreneurs have, is working with money, working through it, getting to next levels, and working through money struggles. And so what I'm excited about, Vinca is going to come on the line today and really help us uncover our money codes and what they mean and how to help us in our business. So Brandy Michaels is her business partner, and Vinca Heart, what they do is they attract the right clients and build unstoppable business success in record time. So her business partner, Brandy, is the creator of the character code system for client attraction, and she's also the author of How to Read a Client from Across the Room with McGraw-Hill. Now, what's great about Vinca is she's the creator of the money code system, and this is for the high-end sales success, and she specializes in serving celebrity and CEO clientele. So what's great is this dynamic duo together, they're known for their big hearts, behind-the-scenes savviness, and really how to make it the impossible, not only possible, but a way of life for you. So I'm so excited. We've got Vinca live here today, and we're going to walk through this money code system that she has just helped thousands of entrepreneurs across the world implement to help them get to the next level. So Vinca, welcome. How are you today?
Oh, I'm so great. Thank you so much, Kris.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you here. One thing about Vinca that everybody, I just have to share, her energy is just amazing. She's over in Germany right now as we speak. She's on a vacation and she's doing this interview for us. So I'm so honored and just grateful that you're able to be here.
I know, it's so much fun. We went to actually to Tuscany with our JV partners and made olive oil, and now I'm in
Oh,
Germany. So we're
really?
having fun, yes. So we
How is that a tough process?
Oh no, it's just great to harvest your own olives and then you make your organic olive oil and you've never tasted anything like it.
Oh, I bet. That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
You'll have to send us some pictures. We'll put them up on the blog.
I know. It's so much fun. Well, I always say, it's also the life, not that you only work, 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 but it's also living a life that's fulfilling and enjoyable and you share it with people and you have good food and memories to share. It's really important.
Exactly. It's about the lifestyle. I mean, really about having that ability to do what you want and exactly what you're talking about, enjoying it, enjoying the journey. I love it.
Yeah, and I was so lucky. I mean, this year I've been a month in Spain with my parents, rented a nice house, and was in the ocean. So I'm
Mm.
really blessed because I didn't live like this, all the time.
Ex- well, exactly. Yeah, and that's what I want to get into. So I'd love for you just to share your story of how you were able to crack this code and how you were able to change your lifestyle and just tell us your story of how you became the expert.
Well, the expert came. I grew up actually in near Berlin, behind the Berlin Wall.
Oh.
And so we had pretty much nothing to buy, just normal food, and that was about it. And we had to wait 10 years to buy a car. There was no freedom of speech, there was no freedom to travel. It was a pretty, you know, unsafe time because you couldn't talk to people. People were informing on you. And so it was a pretty devastating time. I was just talking to a friend of mine just a day ago, how far we've come,
Mm.
from going from having nothing or very little in this complete prison that we lived in, being, informed on and spied on and all this crazy stuff happening to us. And at one point, I always teach that part, you have to make a decision in life. And it's going to be an uncomfortable decision, but to, step out of complacency around what you're in. And a lot of people have complacency around money and the way they
Mhm.
live and the way they run their business, or how they have it all set up, and there's a certain complacency about it. And it's really my mission in life to really help people stepping out of that complacency and just, live fully, which we had to do because we made the decision to become part of the political underground. And it was so scary because
Mm.
my parents could end up in jail or get tortured, and so there was all these fear things that were attached to it, and it's really about stepping out of the complacency that we had with our life and really stepping into creating our own freedom. And even if it's so scary, I mean, it was so scary, and at the same time it was we felt really alive because we were doing things that were
Mm.
scary instead of just sitting in the complacency of not doing anything.
Right.
And I think this is really where the money codes come from. My dream was always, and I was playing the piano as a piano prodigy, and that's the only way I could express myself, move people out of complacency with music, because there are no words attached. And I won everything, and I was in college really early with 8, and it was just this movement that I created from a young age on to move people. And then, being in the underground, we started to organize in churches and, in places where we couldn't get arrested. And we, came together as people, as scary as it was, and we made a decision. We wanted to change the country from the inside out, and that was the beautiful part that made us feel so alive. And it went from from underground meeting of 10, 50 to 100 to thousands and then to millions of people. And it was so powerful to see that, and so scary because we went on the streets, we became visible. And that's another point that a lot of people are hiding. A lot of people in their business and life are hiding and not shining the way that they should be. And it's a scary moment when you become visible because it feels like, oh my God, scary as hell.
Exactly.
And I totally know what that's like, because we had to stand up and walk down our main street and tanks were right there to shoot us.
Oh my
And the good
gosh.
thing is, though, nowadays, when you become visible as an entrepreneur and when you step into a different leveraged model of business and stuff like that, and you do things that are really scary, but you become visible, and there's so much power in that. And we were very lucky that we, made it through. And then, after our biggest demonstration, 4 million on the streets everywhere in the country, and 5 days later, the wall came down, just like that. So I always want to inspire people that anything is possible. If you think you're in the slums or you're stuck and it's really hard, I always say, the Berlin Wall came down like this, anything is possible for you.
Yeah.
And this is where really the money codes came in, because I had to learn, first of all, in the underground movement, I had to scan people. I had to know, who's an informant, who's not. I had to learn a lot.
Right.
And then I became a politician at a very young age, and I had to help people step into leadership, because that's really what it is. It's like helping people. That's real leadership, is helping people stepping into their best, that they can be. And it was so powerful, to see so many people and helping them to, not fear so much and stepping into what they're meant to do. And that's really when it started. And then I came to the States because I was like, oh my God, I want to be free. The wall is down. I'm going to travel. I'm going to study in America. And I went there and I studied at Juilliard. And I was mesmerized, though, because I was fascinated about business there, because we weren't allowed to build businesses when we were behind the Berlin Wall. And so I was fascinated. My dad started his own business, I helped building his, and then it was just so much fun for me to experience it. And the only thing that I experienced in America, though, was I couldn't speak the language, so I didn't speak English at all. And so I had to learn what people were doing, and people were different because they grew up in a different economy system. I did, and they did, and people had different hang-ups around money. And it was interesting to see to me because, for me, it was like, man, you have all the freedom in the world.
Right.
You can create whatever you want. What are you waiting for? And so I saw those patterns of people, and some people behave this way and some people behave that way. And, some people had money, some people had no money, some people had a lot of money. And I was like, wow. There's a difference here. And this is where the money codes were born. I came to the States in 94, and that's really when it started to see the differences of people. And really what it comes down to, what I realized and studied and researched for so many years, was that people really are highly affected on how they grew up with money. And probably you've heard that a lot. Oh my God, yeah, here we go again. And it's really important to look at that, though, because how much money you grew up with, the patterns of your parents around money, your environment, even your own, patterns around money that you grew up with have a huge impact on how you see the world and how you create it around yourself. And so I saw the biggest challenges where most people, and it was interesting to see, there were like 80% of people that I saw had, and I called them, I had to give them titles so that people just felt really good about who they are and claiming it, and also really, making sure that the title of the code really emphasizes the characteristics of the code. So 80% of people that I met were Rockies, and I call them Rockies because that's the movie, the fighter, the Rocky fighter,
Right.
who is fighting for his life, fighting for, to win this battle, but also, by fighting, also, making money and supporting his family. So, and that's really 80% of people are Rockies that I've seen, and they're incredible because they're very close with each other. They're very connected as a unit because they're very need to rely on each other in order to make it. So growing up as Rockies, there was a lot of fighting in the household around money and little things and other things, and there was a lot of closeness, and Rockies always had this have the huge issue of fighting themselves and fighting their environment and their clients and their environment and money. They're fighters, and they're fighting the money rules. At many places I see it where they just fight, and it has to be really hard for them. Working hard, that's part of the mindset of the Rockies. So they have to work hard, and it can't be easy. Easy is really dangerous. It seems dangerous to them.
That's Midwest mentality right there, Vinca. Work hard, work hard, work hard.
Yeah. And it's so interesting to see other money codes, and they don't have that mindset. They have more leveraged mindset. And so it's really important, when we work with clients who are Rockies, to really, not to be afraid of easy solutions, easy ways of making money, instead of just working harder. And it has a huge impact on that they sometimes work themselves to the ground just because they think by working harder that they're going to make more money, and that's not the truth.
Oh, that's so I want to interrupt you for 1 second. So everyone listening, Vinca has an amazing quiz that you can find out. We're going to still keep going through the character codes right now, but I want you to be able to participate with this. So if you're driving, just come back to this later. But if you're listening at your computer, type in this URL right now. We'll have it on the blog post as well. But if you go to tinyurl, so that's tinyurl.com/take quiz now, you can find out instantly what your character code is. So while we're going through this interview, Vinca is going to unveil that a little bit more so you can start to understand where you're at with those codes. And because I know right now, I think Vinca, probably with my upbringing, I'm probably more of a Rocky in that situation.
That's great. You know what the great thing is about Rockies? They're loud, they're boisterous.
That's me.
They're straightforward. You get what you see. They don't hide. They don't pretend. You know what I mean? They don't like pretense. They don't. This whole niceness. It's very dangerous. And it is true. How Rockies survive is really by being straightforward with each other, because that's how the unit survives, the family unit.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. So it's really important when you have sales conversations with Rocky, meaning when you are with clients and they're prospect clients, they want to become part of your tribe. It's really important to be very straightforward with them, because any kind of pretense or holding back or some weirdness creates a lot of distrust immediately.
Yes. And I'm known for being very, very kindly blunt with my clients, but they like it. They appreciate it because it gets them to where they need to be. But yeah, absolutely. So keep going with this. I love this. I know my listeners are loving it too.
Yeah. So, and then we have the RocknRollers. So I chose this name. First of all, it's another rock, so I was like, oh, this is great. RocknRollers. So RocknRollers grew up with enough money. Rockies grew up with little money. RocknRollers grew up with enough money. And RocknRollers, why I chose that name was because they need to be really rock the boat. They need to step out of the box because they're so worried about doing something wrong and doing it right. And, they're very polite. They have a lot of niceness. And for Rockies, that can be sometimes really annoying because they're like, cut the crap, just be real. But the RocknRollers had survived by, and this is really tough. My husband is a rock and roller, and I start fighting when I feel disconnected because I'm a Rocky, and my husband hates fighting, right? So it can affect your family life,
right?
it's really interesting to see, my husband doesn't want to fight. He just wants the politeness, the niceness of it all. And sometimes that can, get into conflicts. It's really important to know also when you have clients, whoever you are and whoever you're sitting in front of, to know who's in front of you is so important. And we teach these these codes, the character codes and the money codes, in depth in our 2-day events, because it's so important how you build your business around that. Because the more you know about people, the more powerful you're going to be in business. If it's a joint venture partner, if it's a client, if it's an investor, people have been using these systems and had tremendous results because you will know who's in front of you. Right. So the rock and rollers are very polite people. They worry a lot and they get stuck around worrying about risk and doing the wrong thing, and that keeps them stuck at a certain level. And so they need to step out of that. And sometimes, it's important to know how to create that trust with a client who is a rock and roller. And the problem is for Rockies is they have really big issues with positioning themselves. They always, they have to learn how to position themselves well at all times, because sometimes they feel like they're not good enough or they're not enough. Right. And rock and rollers have good positioning skills, much better positioning skills. And the sad part is that they even had to position themselves in childhood throughout their family, and that's why they're so good at it, because they had to get attention. They had to position themselves in the family to get love and affection and attention. Wow. Yeah, so this also creates a lot of compassion with people, because it's not only knowing about who you are and why you have the money issues that you have and your clients, why you're not having the sales with the clients and who they are, but it's also about really finding out, creating compassion around it, because the more bandwidth you have with people, with clients and investors and joint venture partners, the more business you will ever have.
Oh, it's so absolutely. Yep. I just want to cut in there because I've always been in sales and always been trading, but I do come from that Rocky mentality where it's, really, almost a little bit brash for some people. And so when I would train my sales staff, you have to, and that's why I love this, what you're sharing, Vinca, because everybody can use this no matter what business you're in, what you're doing, because it comes down to in business how you communicate. The better communicators always get their business to go the farthest. And what I see a lot is a lot of people are talking to everybody the same way. And that's exactly the opposite of what we need to be doing. We need to have that mirror and be more that chameleon to understand what those codes are and how to speak with them and direct so they actually hear what we're saying. Because we could be saying what we think we're saying, and, it makes perfect sense, but that personality, it's totally coming in a different way for them. So I love how you're sharing this because it adds up for every business and business owner.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because, we teach it to the detail of branding, marketing, sales, launching, because if you specifically want to attract a certain kind, it's to the color you can do it.
Exactly.
And that's the great part about, if we jump into the character codes, Brandy's coding system, it's incredible, like the language, the colors that people love. And it's really interesting. I always wear black. I love black. Yep. And I see you love black.
Yeah.
So it's like, I didn't understand. And my mother was like, why are you wearing black? You have to wear, pink and red, and because she loves that and she loves these patterns and because she's an actress, right? Her character code wise, she's an actress, and so she's always big hair and big personality. And I'm always like, I know I like it black and I like to get it done, and don't
don't mess with me.
And so it was so great when I met Brandy. I was like, oh my God, you have a different system. I love this system. Look at this. It's a totally different understanding because you're born a certain way. And then with the character codes, you're born a certain way when you find out who you are. And then you understand your environment, how environment changed you. And that's when the money codes come in. It's so cool. So the character codes, you can go to tinyurl.com/take quiz now. You can take a quiz and find out which character code you are. And it's incredible how you can go into a room and visually, even now, when I pick up the phone, I can hear people and I know which character code they are. And it's so cool because again, it's about communication. It's about knowing who's in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Some people think slower, some people think faster and speak faster. It has a huge impact, and it's so wonderful. When I found out, I'm a class president cheerleader, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I love black, but I do love a little color in there because I don't like to be bored, and that's the cheerleader. I mean, I need to have fun and a big laugh.
Exactly.
Yes, and I think you're the same, Kris.
Yes.
And it's this great part when you find out of who you are, and then you can attract people to the T in your marketing, in your brand, about who you want to attract, and also understanding how you want to build your business around the skills that you have naturally that you're born with. For example, we have a scholar. For example, those scholars, they're not very people oriented. Scholars are very into data, and they don't really look fashionable. They're trying, but they cannot really do it, and that's okay because they're all in their head and they're into data, and they don't really like being hugged, or they're more stiff.
Touched.
And
Yep.
interesting to see that, and then you have the cheerleaders who are all jumping around in the room and going from one group to the other, and they don't like to be bored, but they love to be liked, and it has a huge impact which colors they like. Even on their website, we have one client who just does websites with character codes, and it's so cool because it changes everything of who you want to attract. Client attraction becomes completely differently. It's not demographically at all,
Right.
and it's so much easier. So then we have the scholar, and then we have the activist. And activists are all from the heart. They love that heart connection. They love looking in people's eyes and listening and being slow and enjoying connection. And, they want to hug. And the thing is, sometimes when you see in joint venture summits, or, even in events and
Yes.
networking events, you see the activist hunting the scholar. The scholar tries to run away, and the activist is going after them. But it's very powerful information because sometimes you always wonder why people didn't respond, or why didn't you followed up, or you didn't have a connection with them, and it's because you didn't know who they were.
Right.
And when you have that powerful understanding of people, and understanding where they come from, and how they connect, and how they like to be connected, and how they feel secure or not secure, or they freak out about you, it has a huge impact on how you're doing business. So I think, I'm just trying to give you a little overview.
No, I love it. Well, this is, like I said, it's so powerful. And it took me so many years, even with sales trainings and different things, because you have to know how to have your personality still come through authentically when you're talking with people. And that takes time. It takes practice, and being able to pick up on people's their unspoken, the body language, a lot of other things that go along with it. So I love how you roll this all together, and especially with the branding piece too, because you could be out there front and center, but if people are coming to your website online and they get a completely different feel, they're not going to connect with you, and the rest of your email marketing and the rest of your business isn't going to, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not going to flow the way you want it to. So this is so powerful on so many levels. So Vinca, what I'd love for us to talk about, let's go back and readdress the money codes. Let's talk about, because I know there's 4 main ones, and this is your expertise. So let's drill deep into this, because I think this is really where a lot of people struggle with around that money, their concept, and how to break those habits that we have from growing up, and what we've been taught day in and day out that we have in our subconscious mind now.
Yeah. No, this is so cool because, a lot of people always think that I'm this woo-woo intuitive person.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I talk to people, I coach them, or, I help them with stuff. They're like, how do you know all this stuff about me? And it's like, just, I know their money code.
Exactly. It's patterns. It's all comes down to patterns. So that's why I love what you've created, because it decodes all of that.
Yeah, like client attraction, or money issues, or sales conversations, like you were saying, you had a lot of sales training. Well, I want to go back. Well, the great part about understanding the money codes is also really digging into being compassionate, understanding, like we are Rockies, like you and me are Rockies, and then there are rock and rollers, and then there are also Rockefellers, people who grew up with more than enough money. And a lot of people have judgments around people who have a lot of money, and there's a lot of jealousy and a lot of distrust, and all those things that come up with money, which is interesting. And it's really important to know it's a tough life to live as a Rockefeller. There are parts that are great and there are parts are not great, and every code has that. It's so interesting. Rock and rollers always want to become Rockefellers. They always say, how can I become a Rockefeller? And I said, this is not about becoming something. This is about owning who you are, how you grew up, and letting go of the negative traits. Right. So when you're listening, don't try to become something, but rather own of how you grew up and how your parents, were around money, because they had their own patterns, and really embracing that, and then really looking at the patterns that you have. And then the more awareness you have around your own money code, the more you can relate to everyone that is your client or venture partner, networking, whoever is in front of you. And so the Rockefellers grew up with more than enough money, and the confusion starts at a really young age, because a lot of people are getting paid to be nice to them, to be taking care of them. If it's private chefs, nannies, you name it, it's all this staffing stuff. And so there's a lot of confusion growing up that people who are nice to you and take care of you and are friends and are close are getting paid. And there's a lot of isolation with that, because about human connection, it's a lot of confusion. What I love about them, though, is they always think out of the box. They think very leveraged, very leveraged in the sense of using other people's minds or other people's resources, and gather it. I was just talking to one of my clients, and she had dinner with Steven Spielberg, and she was saying to me, well, the way he thinks is like, he puts people around him who are really great at something, and he puts it all together, and then it runs by itself. And it's not like that he has to do everything. Like the Rockies always have to feel like, I have to do it all by myself, and I have to do it. And, there's no leverage thinking at all. And Rockefellers have this incredible gift of, hiring people, getting the resources, getting investors, before they even start doing anything. They're lining it up, and they're thinking about how to leverage. That's their first thinking. And interesting enough to know is that Rockefellers are very, very much about saving time, because that's what you cannot buy is time. And so they think about their time, and that's why they always think about how to leverage and do less in that. And it's interesting to see, a lot of people, Rockies and rock and rollers always pay interest, right? They always pay interest in some form, because they borrow money or they use credit cards. And Rockefellers are just known to make money of interest. They never pay interest. They always make money off interest. So there's a totally different thinking about that, And it's important to know, when you have sales conversations with Rockefellers, they need a different form of connection and security, and they need privacy and feeling like there's this almost secrecy about when you work with them, because they've experienced a lot in their life where people approach them, and they just approach them to, be close to them, to have the money, to get close to their money. And so there's a lot of trust issues for Rockefellers. So I'm just giving little glimpses, because it's important to know that, just because you grew up differently with money doesn't mean that a Rockefeller had it easier than you. In some things it was easier, but in some other things, the Rockies were much closer to each other growing up, and had much more community. And and I always call it the Malibu syndrome. If you've ever been in Malibu, there's no sense of town there. It's all just these beautiful houses connected to each other, and sometimes they know each other or they will never know each other. But it's this really disconnect that people live with and grow up with, and that has a huge impact on their life. And I always recommend, if you work with high-end clients, which I have, have worked with a lot of high-end clients, it's really going after that isolation pattern that they have and really going after the humanity that they need to experience and that people are there for them, not for the money. That's a big one for them. Yeah, and then the last one is my favorite one. Always the favorite to last. It's like dessert. The last one was I was trying to choose a woman who's a big known personality, and I chose Oprah.
Mm-hmm.
So I called them Oprahs because Oprah's, like Oprah herself, grew up in tremendous hardship. Like, it was not even little money. There was sometimes no money, and there was tremendous violence and hardships of all forms for her. And she became the biggest entertainment person that we know of at this point. And so Oprahs are very interesting because I love them. They're visionaries. So they grew up under tremendous hardship, in extremes. I call it, this is the most extreme one. And they always forget the money rules. And that's why they become so either really billionaires and famous. And, the biggest people that probably most of the billionaires and the most famous people that have some O in them. And it's incredible to see, what extremes people grew up in. And, and O's have really this incredible drive to change the world to a better place because they don't want anyone else to experience what they experienced, the hardships that they experienced. They give the most money out of all the money codes, philanthropy-wise. Like Rockefellers give philanthropy money just to keep their name in good standing and for tax reasons. But the O's really give in proportion to the Rockefellers more because sometimes they have nothing.
Right.
O's either have nothing or they have over too much. It's either they live in extremes. It's either there's nothing there or they make a lot of money. So they make a lot of money, they lose a lot of money. They make a lot of money, they lose a lot of money. So they live in these extremes. And what's really important is to keep them in balance. For them, it's all about balance and not being in isolation. The moment an O goes into isolation, they're not doing well. And usually they have money issues, they have all kinds of issues, they have really weird health issues too. I've studied that a lot. They have the weirdest things happening to them. And it's all about keeping in balance for those. And the other thing that's really incredible about them is, though, if they step into leadership, if they share their story, O's usually think, everyone had it as hard as them. So they always think, well, it's not a big deal that I grew up this way. And I always say, no, wait a minute. Not everyone had it as hard as you. So you might want to share that story because usually when O's step into leadership and they really start thriving, and they usually thrive when they're not in isolation. So you have to get a lot of support as an O. Like working with Kris, right? Kris, it's really important. You can't be in isolation. You gotta be in community. You gotta have a coach. You gotta be on it, and it's really important to do that. Otherwise, you will struggle so much. And it's great to see, though, if they share their story, if they step out of isolation, they become very, very successful and very wealthy. But the problem is they go in cycles. So if you take Tony Robbins, if you take even Oprah with her own network at the moment, she doesn't get up at 8 a.m. She doesn't do her Oprah show anymore, and immediately she starts struggling. The balance is gone.
Yes.
Boom, it happens. Tony Robbins goes the same. It's like a lot of money, very It's like extremes, and so it's really important to know who you are and then really build your business around it and build your life around it. And then also who's in front of you. Like, let's say if you have clients or if you have prospect clients or joint venture partners too, as even investors, it's important to know, always love to invest if it's making a better place for the whole world. It's really a drive for them. So they do invest if they have money in that moment. So it's really important to know all these things when you have a person in front of you. And, we did part of our academy is like this whole sales camp where, I teach the marketing side and the sales side of the money codes. And it's so fascinating, when I teach it and I give examples, and then who do you want to be? Who do you want to attract? Who do you want to, build the business for?
Well,
so these are the money codes.
Yeah. Well, what I love about this as well, what's so unique, especially, with us being Rockies, that was one of my biggest struggles, is finding my positioning, finding where, I went, and I see this with so many entrepreneurs as we jump around, we're jumping over here, we're trying this, we're trying that, trying on different, entrepreneur paths. And I see what I love about what you're talking about here with the character and the money codes is what you said is own your story. Because I see a lot of people will go to events and you'll see the person up on stage and you'll be like, oh, well, I don't have that story, or I didn't go through that, so I can't be this. And and a lot of it is us positioning ourselves, trying to be somebody else. And that's what I love about what you're talking about here is own who you are, how you grew up, and understand how to communicate with the other codes. But it doesn't have to be that you are becoming them. You're becoming more of who you are. And I really think once I figured that out, things totally shifted in my business. And so I think that's so powerful to understand that, because I think so many people struggle to try to find that identity and try to become somebody else, and that never fits anyway. So I think it's so powerful what we have, what you've created, and how you help people shed that. So I'm curious with the money codes, since the Rockies are the biggest group, let's just kind of focus on that for a second. For that type of personality type, this probably applies to all of them actually though. When you start to take people through a process, can you kind of share a little bit about that and how you help people break that open?
Well, yeah. Well, the first thing is to find out, who they are. And it's never like I never put it on people. They have to claim it.
Oh.
Meaning, like, they have to claim whoever they are because you cannot tell people who they are. I mean, I see it and I know it, but, when people are ready, sometimes Oprahs have issues because they want to be outsiders. They don't want to fit in the box. They survived by not following authority, so they have a lot of authority issues.
Right.
If somebody authoritative says you are this,
they're like, no, I'm not. I think I have a little bit of that too, Vinca, because I used to be like that.
Yeah. Well, most entrepreneurs, it's really an O thing. O's have a really hard time fitting into the corporate 9-to-5 job kind of a thing. So what O's do is usually find solutions outside what is mainstream. And so for them, it's always about creating business and, creating opportunities that other people don't see. It's because they have been so different. The experiences that they had and they survived made them think and see things so differently, awareness-wise, than so many other money codes that they just don't fit,
Right.
And that's the thing. O's always felt like an outsider. They've never felt like they fit, and that's usually why they all become entrepreneurs or they have their own business, because they can't fit with the boss. Because
right.
Because the thing was that, growing up, authority was not safe, and they had to find ways to, find ways around it because it wasn't safe to follow authority. And so this is the same thing. They're building their own business and, but they have to not get in their own way. So usually what we do is, first of all, people take usually a quiz, and then we walk them through a 2-day process to really learn the language, to actually, when you have the language, it's our own language system that we've created with the money codes and the character codes. And people start communicating, sorry, communicating, and then also networking and relating, and then client attraction happens completely differently in these 2 days where they learn how to network, learn how, how to read people, like learn who's in front of you. And because then, a lot of people are so afraid of these 30-second speeches and the 30-second elevator pitch or whatever. And what do I say? Who am I? Who am I? And, especially Rockies and O's have a hard time to position themselves. So like they have to learn that, first of all, because a lot of them, feel not good enough, or they want to hide, or they don't, they feel salesy or something around that.
Right.
And things have to shift around this. And so we walk them through the whole process in those 2 days, so that you become a new person, first of all, awareness about yourself, and then, but also around yourself, understanding who everyone is. And that's pretty cool.
Exactly.
Because it's a powerful tool to have, to go into a room, or, even knowing on Facebook, oh, this is this character code, or this is this manic code, when you go on a website, or whoever you want to also attract. So, yeah. So in those 2 days, we really, walk people through. So when you take the quiz, tinyurl.com/take quiz now, after you find out your results, which character code you are, you will be led on to the events page. And I highly recommend that you come. And it's a free event. It's $97, but you actually, the money will be, it's a deposit basically. The money you will get back the money after the second day when you arrive there, and you've been there for 2 days, you actually get the money back. But we want to make it open to everyone. So it doesn't matter if you have money or no money, because we know, sometimes O's have no money, but they can make incredible money. I had this one client, it was so great. She had minus $31 in a bank account, total O, right? Total Oprah. And then a week later, she had $107,000 deal. You know what I mean? Like it's so incredible when you support and shift little things right. Certain O's and Rockies, they can just flourish, and rock and rollers too. They need a lot of support, but it's just wonderful to experience that. So I highly recommend that you come to this. We call it Client Success Live, and the event is like 2 days. You learn the character codes, you learn the money codes in depth. How do you apply that to your business? You learn it right there. We teach even networking in a completely different way. Because networking, I was so annoyed about these networking events that I went to because Brandy took me, and I was like, what is this? This is BS. I don't like it. People are not connecting, and they're also freaked out about, like they're so desperate. I'm like, Jesus, they're desperate. What's going on? And so I was like, you know what? Let's teach this in a new way. Let's teach it in a different way and give people tools, because I see people so freaked out about, when people ask, what do you do? Or the 30-second spiel and all this stuff. And really helping, also Rockies and O's learn how to position themselves. And that's really powerful for them to step into leadership and, creating really good income for themselves. Yeah. Yes. And we teach also a lot about leverage, and I love that part. And I really recommend that whoever you are and you're listening right now, always think about how you can leverage your time, your energy, because it's all in that. And get help from Kris, get help from whoever. Make sure that you look at your business and your life in a completely leveraged way, and it's going to be a completely different life. And we created in 2 years we created a 7-figure business, and it's because of the leverage that we created, and also used the money codes and the character codes.
Yes. And I'd love for us I know we're almost out of time here, Vinca, but you've given such incredible information, and it's so inspiring, and this is going to help so many of the listeners really help to figure out where they're at and where their clients are, even in their business. I know when I started learning about personalities and this type of understanding, it's so shifted, because then it's how you communicate. But what you just hit on, I'd love if you can just share a couple insights with, how did this start to help you in your business with how you shifted your business and what you were doing?
Yeah. Well, what I was doing was, I started as a coach, I loved coaching because it helped me so much. When I came to the States and I started my own business, I had so many fears. Also, growing up in the underground, all my shit came up. Oh my God, I'm sorry that I'm swearing.
No, I can't. Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
But, no, but you bring everything of yourself, all your stuff into the business, and will come up. It's like a spiritual journey. My God, never ends. And so I learned that, I got myself coaches, and I got myself really straightened out and getting rid of fears. Even speaking, it was like I was so scared of speaking. I was always thinking that I'm going to get shot. I did my first telesummit and I couldn't breathe in one call, so I had to lay down. I was going to black out.
Wow. Yeah.
Just the fear that I had to overcome, but I had to do it anyway and get a lot of support around that. And the biggest shift for me was to step out of isolation, and working on the fears that I had, and really going from $20 an hour. I went from $20 an hour as a coach, just like working my ass off and not really making money, in the sense that I was like really happy with it. And I was like, I gotta change something here. And that's really when I applied the money codes, because I was like, I have so much information. I know those people. I know why they're doing this. And I really, really got help for myself, got support. That's important. Stepped out of isolation. And then I started being very bold. I mean, I was fighting myself a lot. I was fighting my environment. That's the thing for the Rockies. They fight everything and everyone else, and they lose so much energy. And when you do that, when you fight yourself, you're not making money because you're not open.
Exactly. Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So I had to actually start fighting for something again, but for something good for my clients. For what do I want to create? What do I want to do? Because after the wall came down, the fight was over, and I was like, what am I going to fight for? There's nothing to fight for. There's nothing. You know what I mean? So I was fighting myself.
No cause.
So when I was really fighting for people, and I really love fighting for women's rights and equality, in the sense that that we're all equal, and it doesn't matter how we grew up and how unfortunate or fortunate we were. We all have the right to be happy and successful and live a leveraged life. And I think that's what I'm fighting for, and helping really people. I was fighting for people to step out of complacency in what situations they were in, and really helping them to step into that, scary, but it's this stretch and it's all this tension, but at the same time you feel alive. And that's really where the gold is for a lot of us. And so really I started not fighting myself, but really fighting for and then things changed really quickly, and I started working with high-end clients, and and then I made like $30,000 instead of $20.
Yes.
I made $30,000 with a client, you know what I mean? So it was very different, and it really, changed my life. And then, I started doing live events, and because people wanted to know, how the hell do you work with those people, and how do you attract those? And then I realized, people don't know how to do this.
Right.
Well, share it. And that's how the money codes were starting to be shared. And I've been doing live events since then, and I think it's so transformational to have people come into a room, learn something, transform their lives, and then also at the same time learn how to network and put it all into place. And I just find it much more powerful than anything that I've experienced, and it really helps them really move out of complacency, you know what I mean, in a life event more than ever. So this is really my journey. And and it was great to Brandy, has her story. She was a single mom, was married but had an accident, terrible brain injury, couldn't read for 7 years, became a single mom, and then she started her business out of nothing.
Yep.
And and then we met together and we built it together then and created a 7-figure business. And it's like we've been through the odds, we've been through all of the extremes that you can be through, and We're saying there's no excuses not to make it.
Exactly. Exactly. I love it. Just you two are such amazing women, and what you're doing is so phenomenal. And I completely agree with the live event experience. It's that experiential learning where you get out of it's so different than just sitting home and doing these home study courses that, most of us have that's out there for people to go through. So I highly suggest, if you haven't yet, go over to tinyurl.com/take quiz now, find out your character code, and then join us live at the event to really break through. And I love the networking piece. I didn't know that you guys did that. I think that's so brilliant because it's so amazing. I go to events too, and I'm like, what are people doing? So it definitely can help them. I love it.
Yeah. No, it's a very transformational event. I mean, people have breakthroughs right then and there, or 3 weeks after, and they double and they triple their income, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, Vinca, this has been amazing. I have one last question for you, though, and it's the $1,000,000 question. If you had to start over today, knowing what you know now, but you were starting over with no resources or contacts, what would you do to rebuild your empire?
That's a good thing. Well, the key is, I always say that the key is where the people are, there the money is, right? They're the connections.
Yes.
So I remember still from moving from New York to LA, and I had to start all over. And what I did is I took my business cards and I introduced myself all along our main street. And made the biggest connection that way. And then I also opened my house and I said, okay, let's have a networking event right here. And I collected people's names and, started my networking group. And that's how I started getting referrals. So it's really about not being afraid of people, but really understanding people and then reaching out and loving them and connecting with them. And then you can do business and thrive and create whatever you want to.
Yes.
So this is my my golden nugget.
Hey, that's so powerful though. It's funny too, Vinca. Almost everybody has a little bit different take on how they'd rebuild their business, what they would actually do. But almost the common denominator with every expert that I've interviewed over the past couple of years have said, I would get out and connect with more people. The faster I can make connections and connect with people, the faster I can build my business. So it's just like you said, it's connecting with people. That's where the lifeline of your business is.
Yeah, well, it's connecting with them, but also it's knowing them, who they are. I think that was the piece that was so easy for me because of the money codes. And so it is about, connecting. And a lot of people are good with connection. I'm not saying that a lot of people have problems with that, but the problem is to get the results from the connections.
Well, it's so true. I mean, exactly. I see it in networking events, people just collecting business cards and making really quick, small conversation, but there's no real connection. And if that connection isn't there, the follow through and the follow up for the real relationship doesn't happen. So that's where a lot of the disconnect is. So this is so powerful in what you're talking about of how to understand that and really to make that connection and be able to move it forward for business.
Yeah. Well, and it's sometimes not even a 30-second spiel or, we just talk about these little lines, it's like, it's all about positioning and to also have a communication going on. It's a dialogue, not a monologue. And most of the people, how people communicate is usually monologues. And they always try to not to respond of who they actually, how your message lands. Right. It's really about that. And really learning about, how your message is landing. Did the person actually understand what you said, or did they actually listen?
Exactly.
Or was it even in their interest, what you were talking about?
Exactly. And then knowing when that's not the right prospect for you, or that conversation's just, just to make a connection and to either help each other out in a different format. And I think that's so powerful because I see a lot of people banging their heads against the wall when they're going to those networking events and they're not seeing that gap of exactly what you're talking about. So, it's so incredible. So again,
and also to know,
no, keep going.
Well, also to know where the people are at in front of you. Some people have very little time; they have to live a very leveraged life, and some people approach them in this long-term thing, and it's like, honey, their time is so valuable; they're not even listening to you.
Exactly.
And some people have a lot of time, and because they're just starting out.
Exactly. Yes, it's so true. And I love how many layers you have with what you're teaching. So again, I have to stress, go over to tinyurl.com/take quiz now. I'm telling you, when I started learning about this when I was 19 years old with when I first started out with my own business, I struggled with this for quite a few years, and I'm still going through things. I'm always going to the next level. But when I started really understanding how to connect with people, understanding where they came from, what their personality types are, and then now you add the money code on top of this, you can truly become unstoppable. That's what I love about exactly the systems you've created, Vinca. It's so empowering.
Yes. And I love it because part of it is also creating an incredible compassion for each other. You know what I mean? Because I don't like those gaps between people where people think, oh, I can't have that, or I can never reach that. And that's not true. And you don't need to make anybody wrong just because you have less. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the opposite too. If you have a lot, don't judge the ones that have. So creating that and getting away from the judging, because that doesn't help anyone in these times.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that's what Brandy and me really stand for. We stand for collaboration, because we even moved into a house. We were like, okay, we're building this business. We're going to build it fast. We'll better live together because we need to work fast. You know what I mean?
Wow. I didn't know. That's awesome. Yeah.
Got a big house in Lafayette and just moved in, and now we're in separate places. But it was just great because it was this thing of collaborating.
Yes.
There's no such thing of competition. There is this form of collaboration, and that's how you're going to be successful. When you try to be part and collaborate instead of competing, because that's an old paradigm that doesn't work anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not about competition. I say co-opetition, working together. Well, this has been phenomenal. So, Vinca, where can everybody find out more about you?
About me? Well, you can come to the event and you will meet me live. And you get all my glory. But you can also go to vincaheart.com and find out more about me there. Or you can connect with us on Facebook. You can go to facebook.com/Brandy and Vinca. We have a lot of things going on there if you want to check that out. That's how you can meet.
Excellent. Well, Vinca, thank you so much. I'm so excited that we've been able to be connected ourselves and what we're going to work together on in the future as well. And so everybody, again, if you go over to the blog, lifestyleacademy.com/Vinca, Vinca, I'll have more details on Vinca and obviously the quiz link over there so you guys can find out more about your codes and your character codes. And again, thank you so much for joining us, Vinca. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, so much fun, Kris. Love it. Love it. Another Rocky. Hey.
Yes, right? Rockies. We band together. Well, excellent. Well, everybody go out and make it a great day. And I hope you enjoyed that episode. I'd love to get your feedback here for the Lifestylepreneur podcast right in iTunes. Simply leave us a 5-star and a review letting us know what you like, who you're interested in hearing more from, and what topics you really want help with in your business, that I can bring on those key experts to really fine tune and help you in your business and creating the lifestyle of your dreams. And I'll be giving shout outs, so make sure you put your name and your website address if you want me to share that with the community as well. And again, thanks for listening. I'm so excited that you found the Lifestylepreneur podcast, and I can't wait to connect with you and learn more about your business as we continue to grow this community. So again, have a great day, and I'll talk to you next week. Thank you for tuning in to the Lifestylepreneur podcast. Again, I'm Kris Gilbertson, and I'm committed to bringing you top training from leading lifestylepreneurs all over the world to help you break through and turn your dreams into your ideal lifestyle. And make sure to join us at www.lifestyleacademy.com to receive VIP training from specific guests I interview on the show, so that you can really easily start to implement what you've learned from listening. I know we're all busy, and sometimes we don't have time to listen to the entire podcast or take notes, because I'm always listening on the go. So I like to call it the Lifestyle Cliff Notes to creating your ideal business and make it really simple for you. So those will be sent via the email list. Plus, I also want to connect with you personally, and being on the Lifestyle Academy mailing list is where all the magic happens. We'll host VIP trainings once a month that we can't always bring out on the podcast with even more detailed information. And I also want to connect with you personally. I want to know what's going on in your business and what you need help with and who I can bring on to aid you in creating your ideal lifestyle. And so I'll be asking questions every once in a while that I want you to reply, and I reply back to you personally. So again, until next time, wishing you on your way to achieving all of your dreams. Talk to you soon.